Hi everyone, my name is Nana. I'm from Baku, Azerbaijan, and this July I scored 8.5 overall from the IELTS exam from the first take without a tutor, and in this video I'm going to share my tips on how I did it, and I believe if you listen to them carefully, apply them in your daily life, you will definitely achieve your desired score as well. I had been preparing for IELTS for about 3 months, but I had huge breaks in between because I wasn't really sure about whether I need to take it or not, and then I decided that by self-studying I can get a better grasp of what it is and I can teach it somewhere in the future. So that's why I became decisive and knuckled down to study to get it done. So the first thing I recommend doing is learning everything you can about the format of this exam. I think I've spent around 2 weeks or so to learn about all the question types in all the sections, and for that I watched videos of Fast Track IELTS YouTube channel, which I highly recommend. I think only after understanding the types of questions you can try and do some mock exam online. Before, I remember when I did the true, false, not given questions, I didn't really get what they mean, but after watching these videos I was really sure what I have to do. For getting the gist of the writing task, I recommend you watching 2 channels. Lily IELTS for writing task 1 and IELTS Advantage for task 2. These 2 really helped me so much, and my writing score of 7 proves that their methods are really effective. If you study every day, analyze your essays and work on your mistakes, of course. And any channel will do to get acquainted with the speaking exam, but after you have listened to the tips and what to notice, I highly recommend watching the speaking interview as well. There you can listen through the candidates' responses and better remember the information that you had just obtained. The second recommendation, focus on the grammar from the start. When you will practice writing and practice speaking, if you start with revising grammar and polishing it, later on when you practice writing and speaking, you won't make these mistakes anymore. And if you will make mistakes at first, you would better understand how to fix them, you would understand it much earlier on, and that's the way to go. For grammar, I can recommend 2 books, Cambridge's Grammar for IELTS and Raymond Murphy's Essentials, but intermediate level is better. And I can say that Raymond Murphy's book is more complicated, so if you don't want to dig deeply into these matters, the first one is definitely enough for you. And I like that in this first book you have a mock exam at first, that you can just see what grammar mistakes you have and what are your weaknesses, and maybe dedicate your time only to these points, but it's better to revise everything because you never know what you can forget. My third tip is to divide your day by sections. For example, I started my morning from doing a reading and listening test, then I went on with writing, and I finished my day with speaking. I think it's the best way to go because every section matters, unless you have chosen a strategy to score high in listening and reading and not waste time on the other 2 sections. When I say dedicate some time to each section, I don't mean that you need to do a reading and listening test every day. You can read articles or anything you like, maybe a book. For listening, you can listen to some podcasts. I listen to podcasts by TED Education, and also some other random YouTube channels. So every day you need to read, listen, speak and write in any way you want, but it would be ideal to make it in a way that is relevant to the IELTS. For example, read educational articles to generate arguments for your essays and for your speaking test, and listen to the relevant stuff as well. So for a few months you need to be a little nerdy than usual, but believe me, you will reap the benefits of it. You can watch my IELTS journey vlog by clicking here. I'm sure that it will get you motivated and you will want to start studying straight after watching it. My fourth recommendation is about expanding your vocabulary. Based on my experience, reading helps much more to learn new words rather than listening, because when you read, you can see the words, see them in context, reread the sentence, and generally visual memory is usually better than audio memories. So maybe that's not the case for you. For me, it was this way. But by reading to expand your vocabulary, I don't mean that you need to write down every word. It will be really random. Instead, I would recommend to create different little docs for different most famous topics faced in the IELTS. Broadly, the top topics faced in the IELTS are same in the writing and speaking, so learning vocabulary specific to these topics would definitely help you out a lot. Whenever I look for an article to read, I looked specifically for articles in one of these topics. So what did I do? First of all, I created these different docs for different topics like education, law, art and this kind of stuff. When I read the article, I looked for the words specific to this topic, noted them in the relevant document. I also noted some interesting arguments that I could use in my writing or speaking, so it's another tip for you to take into account. I also created a huge Excel sheet with the columns named after the topics faced in the exam. And below these topics, I wrote the most important words like terminology which I would be able to use in the exam. Before switching to this document and Excel method, I had countless notebooks for different vocabulary, starting from idioms, phrasal verbs, and also topic-specific vocabulary lists. This method is also okay if you like to write on paper, so choose for yourself whichever is convenient for you. But when you read an article, don't forget to highlight the useful vocabulary and add it up to your vocabulary list. The fifth tip is work on your mistakes. Analyze your essays, analyze your speaking, analyze everything you can, even your reading and listening tests. Don't just look for the answers and count how many you got correct. No, this is not the way to progress, this is not the way to improve. When I did my reading and listening test from Cambridge, I would always return to the passage and try to understand what I did wrong. In the reading, sometimes I wasn't really agreeing with what they'd given. I thought that I did everything correctly, but in the listening, I also viewed the audio scripts and sometimes I had some problem understanding the accent or I wasn't concentrating well enough. I think this is the hardest part in listening, to concentrate from the start to the end, not get distracted at all. It's really hard, but it's possible, and it's also really important to read the questions beforehand. I think you know this and you will definitely hear about this in the channels that I recommended. But the hardest analysis and working on myself part came when I did writing, and that's why I dreaded doing it. I used to do writing test 1 and test 2 every day. Sometimes, of course, I gave myself a break, and you should too, because we are all humans, we are all living beings who need to recharge their batteries, so don't think that you need to study every day without a break. Give yourself a break sometimes, which is also another recommendation of mine. My primary focus in this IELTS exam preparation was writing, because I dreamt of scoring 7 in writing. As I decided to become an IELTS tutor, I thought that it's really essential to do it, to do something that not many people can do, and I've successfully achieved this score. But it really took a lot of effort, so if you don't really want to score 7 in writing and you will be good with overall 7.5, I don't recommend doing everything I say later on, but if you want to do the same, definitely listen till the end. So what I did with writing is that I found different topics, different question types for every day and practice writing them. And then I compared my answer to the model answer that I have found. So I set a time limit for myself, which is also another important tip. Prepare yourself for the time limits of the exam. Don't let yourself do it in the relaxed way, do it in the exam conditions. I dedicated 20 minutes to the task 1 in the real exam and 40 minutes to the task 2. That's how I divided my time when I've been preparing. When I had finished, I had checked my essays in the Grammarly first of all. I used the free version because it was enough for me. It highlighted my main mistakes, and only then I opened the model answer, read it, highlighted the important parts, and compared my essay to that essay. I wasn't looking for model answers scored at 9. I tried to find the model answers scored at 8 or 7.5 because these were close to my target score and they were more than enough for me. I analyzed my essay from the task response, cohesion, vocabulary, and grammar parameters, which are all the evaluation criteria for the writing. And here comes the speaking. In the speaking exam, apart from knowing the format and sticking to it, of course the key is your vocabulary, and I've already given my advice on expanding your vocabulary, so an additional exam would be practice by recording yourself. I practiced using the almighty IELTS Speaking Assistant app, and yes, I'm a nerd. I finished all the topics in this app from part 1 to part 3, and whenever I did the questions, I always tried to think about what vocabulary I might need here, what arguments I might need there, and I even had a notebook where I highlighted the arguments that I might use. Although later on I gave up on this, I decided that I have to be confident with my vocabulary and everything else would be perfect. Don't just record yourself and forget about it. Of course, you need to analyze your speaking as well. Analyze how much you hesitate, which vocabulary you stumbled upon, and work on it, improve yourself. I also recommend practicing with foreigners. Although I didn't really use it, I found a Discord server dedicated to IELTS. I will leave the link below as well. It was incredibly interesting for me to learn that there is such a community where you can find reading, listening, speaking, writing partners, practice in the voice calls or even video calls if you get closer with that person. What I did was practice with just one Australian girl that I found on the interpulse.net. This is an excellent language exchange website. It's a little bit old style, but there is a filter to search for people from specific countries, from a specific age range, and it's just really helpful. I'm so grateful to it for finding so many international friends from different countries. And yeah, I've practiced with one Australian girl only the day before the exam, and oh my god, a miracle happened to me at the exam. A miracle that I discussed in this same video that I mentioned before. I really think that you need to listen to it because I proved to myself that hard work pays off for sure. In order not to forget the format of the IELTS speaking, I recommend watching speaking interviews every day as well. And I think that's pretty much all that I wanted to talk about in this video. And in the ending, I'd like to motivate you a little bit more. I gave up my work a few months of my life to get the score that I wanted. I wanted to score above 8, and I really stick to a tough schedule. And in the last few days, I was almost losing my mind because it was all too much for me. I definitely don't recommend doing the same. If you're working, don't leave your work. I just didn't want to work anymore, so I dropped it. Don't leave your work. Don't spend all of your time on this. If you want a score of 7, it's highly possible to do it if you spend 3 months by doing something after work. If you watch the videos from YouTube on writing and understand the structure of this section, you can definitely get 6 from there. You can definitely get 7 from speaking after some practice, and getting 7.5 from reading and listening is definitely the minimum that you can get after practicing, given that you face some hard accent or you lose your concentration in a few moments. And this together gives you 7 overall, which is a great score. I mean, many scholarships accept people with 7 and above, so this was even the worst scenario. And with this scenario, you don't need to analyze as much as I did. You don't need to drop your job, so I believe this is a highly possible result for everyone. And thank you all for watching till the end. I wish you good luck. I wish you patience to get it over with this exam. And please, after you get your score, let me know in the comments below how much you got. And I'll see you in my next video, hopefully. Good luck again, and bye bye.